Epic Geek Out, the only show on the internet with the two best Jaeger pilots known to man. I'm your host, Rob.
And I'm your host, Chad, and today we're talking about Pacific Rim, the big, epic
Huge movie. And on Thursday, we're going to be giving our review of FX's new show, The Bridge.
As always, you can check us out over at Twitter at Epic Geek Out. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/epicgeekout, and also check out the website, www.epicgeekout.com. But let's get into our review of Pacific Rim. So Pacific Rim is the new movie from Guillermo Del Toro. It's the big, giant, just monsters versus robot movie.
Literally.
You know, it's really just an homage to his favorite movies. Not necessarily his favorite movies growing up, but you know, the old school Godzilla kind of movies. Chad, what do you think of Pacific Rim?
Yeah, this is a pretty anticipated movie for both of us. I think, you know.
And well, we saw it on the Sunday of opening weekend.
Yeah.
Which at this point it's getting beaten out by Despicable Me 2, which is its second week, and Grown Ups 2. So I don't know. Go see this movie. That's my first plea, because the only way we're gonna get a sequel is if this movie actually makes money. So yeah, my first plea. But go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's everything that geeks should love and want to love. Giant, awesome effects movie. With robots and monsters, and you know, the trailers looked awesome. The buzz from last year's Comic-Con was awesome. So you know, very excited. Going into it, didn't know a lot of what the plot points were going to be in terms of, you know, I mean, you know the basics, that there's monsters and they're fighting them, and there's two guys that pilot each robot.
Some of the trailers did ruin some things, some little things that happened towards the end, but for the most part, it didn't give you the storyline, which is good. Yeah.
So overall, judging it on that, I was pleasantly surprised with what we got. I think it was there's some awesome stuff in there. The middle fight sequence in particular was epic and outstanding. Yeah, it was good. Everything I really wanted from this type of movie, which is great because, you know, that's what I'm going into it wanting. Unfortunately, I think that some parts, I feel for me, I could have done with a little less story diversions. There were some plot points that took you away from the main action-y stuff that I wanted to see. Now, that's kind of speaking out of both sides of my mouth, because, you know, we always say that, you know, characters and good story is important for action movies, and it is. But I feel like that for this, they had that premise, which was awesome, and then they just tried to put story in for the sake of putting story in, and it wasn't really thought out in terms of how it all was going to come together as a piece. Because a lot of stuff just felt tacked on in terms of just a storyline, just to sort of flesh out some of the characters a little bit more. There was some weird casting with, while I love Charlie Day, that was just a strange choice in terms of the way that this went.
He plays a professor, or I mean a doctor.
Yeah, and he's like a goofy, over the top, you know, whatever, which is fine. But I don't know, it just didn't fit with the rest of the movie for me, and it was a little bit too wacky. Like I appreciate that they tried to put some humor into it, but it just like went a little bit too far over the top.
And I don't think it hit the humor on the head at all. Like there were points that were somewhat funny, but by no means did like the theater crack up at all.
Exactly, and like it was such a in-depth storyline that like took you away from the main storyline, which is kind of like what I was talking about with that. I think that the main girl I did not like, unfortunately. She just, you know, in terms of the way that the actor played it, and also just her story was weird. I really latched on to the dude from Sons of Anarchy. He was great. Yeah, he was awesome in it. I think he was a really good lead because he's like soft-spoken kind of, and it worked well with this because you're when you see that action. And I also think it just kind of peaked a little bit too early. I mean, the middle action sequence, like I said, was the best, and then the end kind of part where they're you know, against all odds trying to get this thing done just felt a little bit rushed. And while it was a cool like sequence where it took place, you know, it wasn't as cool for me as the second one, which was, you know, your traditional, you know, on land, like crazy stuff, destruction and awesome stuff. But I mean, overall, I really liked it. I liked that they fleshed out a lot of the world. Like they really thought out like what would happen.
They explained why you needed two pilots and things like that. So
yeah, and they definitely like this felt real in terms of like what would happen in real life if this happened, you know, like the way the world would react and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed it. I recommend seeing it. I think that this is a movie that you should see on the big screen just because the scale of it's enormous. Yeah, but I mean, not the best movie ever, but awesome.
Yeah, I mean, this is a summer blockbuster movie done right. Like I said before, go see it. If you like giant robots, if you like monsters, it gets your fill for that. There was some points, just to get the criticism out of the way, there were some points that were just, schlocky, I guess is the way to put it. I mean, it really was a movie that hit from point to point to point to point and really didn't surprise you. The things that were surprising in it were the graphics, the way they were able to put together the scenes, and just the explanation of the world. But it was very much paint by numbers. Idris Elba had his Bill Pullman Independence Day, where I was like, oh wow, that's literally lifted right from Independence Day.
Which you see in the trailer, so you know it's coming. Yeah.
But besides, the fact that it was very predictable, you saw everything coming, you knew pretty much what was going to happen when, you still enjoyed the crap out of it when it happened. So that is like the perfect summer blockbuster movie.
Yeah.
You didn't have to think too much. I mean, you take the Transformers movies, which I think this could be compared to, you take Battleship, and I think it was better than all of those. My favorite out of that series. The scale was appropriate. Some of the art direction I thought was great. The robots were so cool. They were unique in their own way. So this is definitely a movie worth seeing. Go see it in theaters. Help, It's funny to plead for people to see this, because if you're watching our show, you probably have. But the scale is great, and it definitely succeeds.
Yeah, I think that's a good comparison to the Transformers movie, because while this movie felt like what I imagined as a kid when I'm playing with my toys, like that being, like Power Rangers and Godzilla and all that stuff, like this is what I imagined, It felt so real in that regard, whereas Transformers just felt like just movie.
And it's just a shame because, this is an original title, which really shows how, Transformers actually does carry some weight, just the name of that, definitely. Or, things along those lines. So, Well,
and they definitely catered to more mainstream audience than this did, because it's very much a geek movie, but it's awesome. So check out Pacific Rim, please. I think it's going to be a good word of mouth movie, so I feel like it's going to pick up a little bit more. Because it's just not, I don't know. I don't think it's everybody's
I think
cup
you'll
of tea.
enjoy it. So.
It's your cup of tea, though.
So it's that time of the episode where we like to give our thanks. Chad, what are you thankful for today?
So I got a chance, like most of America and the world, to see Sharknado last week.
I was in Italy. I couldn't find it.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, it stinks.
It's ridiculous. It's crazy, but I love it because it's like, it's funny how even in an awful, terrible B movie, Tara Reid is still such a horrible actress because she was terrible, and there's other people actually okay performances for that.
Do they pay her in drugs? Or
I don't know. But there's some crazy stuff. I mean, it didn't give me what I wanted necessarily, but the last 15 minutes made it wholly worth it. I mean, it was awesome. Like the guy cuts through sharks with chainsaws, and it's crazy.
Spoiler.
Yeah, it's nuts. So I mean, if you're into those B movies that sci-fi occasionally has, I mean, Sharknado is awesome. Check it out.
And I think it's brilliant that
funny how much
the writer of it said they want to get Damon Lindelof on and Johnny Depp for a sequel. It's like,
that would be funny.
What a brilliant thing to say.
It is crazy how much buzz it got, you know, for such a
Well, Twitter exploded, but not many people watched it.
That's
it was
true.
still like 38th in the rankings or something.
But it was funny.
Yeah. So, we said this last week. I just got back from a trip to Italy, so I'd like to thank the entire country of Italy. It's amazing. This was a dream vacation that I got to go on. Saw everything from the Colosseum to the Venice canals. I mean, the history there is just so immersive and so amazing. If you're a history fan or really just of beautiful, amazing structures and art and things like that, and you haven't been, save up your money and get a chance to go, because that's great. And then throw on top just some fantastic food.
Yeah.
It was an awesome trip. So, got back, almost got lost a couple times. Can't use a cell phone. That was very dangerous. But yeah, I'd like to thank Italy.
Or if you're a fan of Dan Brown, because you got to
we got to
things, which is awesome.
Got to do like all the churches that
it's sweet.
The people died at in Angels and Demons. Saw the death mask from Inferno. So that was pretty cool. I'm going on those little treks, our own little tours.
Definitely.
So, that was neat.
Awesome. So we're going to be back on Thursday. We're talking about The Bridge, which is the new FX show. So make sure you check back for that. But thanks for watching, as always, and we'll see you next time.